Zelazny might have a run here. He pulls up. 2 laps to go at Auto Club Speedway. What a run this has been. 5 cars out front just dancing around for the lead. Salas back to the bottom. Honeycutt stuck up top. Slide job out of Salas. Crossover out of Honeycutt.
23 should have a big run here. He does.
You see Salas starting to cover it up. He goes up the racetrack. Honeycutt's clear of them both. He shoves it up in front of the 23, gets himself loose. It'll be white flag this time by. Salas down low. Zelazny looking for a hole. Side by side, 3 wide, Coffee in it. White flag is in the air. 1 lap to go. Brought to you by Whiplash Sim Cams. Who is going to win the Luke's Playhouse 200? Honeycutt controlling the race. Coffee in second. Tires are aging. Zelazny off the top rope. Got a little bit free. He's going to crash with lights. And yes, wall there. Who knows? Honeycutt, though, leading the race. Can Coffee get a run? He's going to send it. He hits him. Big bump and run. Coffee's going to try and get away. Can Salas get there? Coffee's going to crash. Salas is going to crash. Watch Nick Lights here to the stripe. Salas is going to do it with no front bumper.
Unbelievable.
Wow. There's the white flag from Barney the Flagman. 1 lap to go at Long Beach. White flag is out, brought to you by Whiplash Sim Cams.
Yeah, can really hold him off. He looked like he's started to gap Cantonio just ever so slightly. Got about half of a second. It's been hovering right around there. Oh, Cantonio really pushing. He's sideways out of turn number 1. But Rayleigh just keeping that car pointed in the right direction. Nice and smooth, able to keep it going. It's going to be tough. Antonio knows that there's not very many chances, even if he can get close enough to him to make a move. So we'll see as they come through 6 and 7, head toward turn 8 onto the backstretch.
Deeper in the field, nothing changing. Lap traffic ahead. It's Kevin Peak and Bradley Alvis right in front of our race leaders down East Seaside Way. and to turn number 9 for the final time. Lap traffic in the way, and Rayleigh goes for it on peak. He sends it into turn 9. He knows he can't wait. He knows he can't give an opportunity to Kevin Cantonio. Cantonio's gonna take it anyway, ships it into the hairpin, and Rayleigh's gonna get away. Thomas Rayleigh is going to be a race winner in the North American Racing League. A last lap bump and run wasn't enough. This man wins at Long Beach.
Wow, what a finish coming through that hairpin. I thought they were all gonna wad it up. We had lap traffic in there, staying in there.
The grounds at Virginia International Raceway are historic, to say the least. Racing saw its first days here in the late 50s and continued into the 70s before the facility closed in 1974, thankfully reopening at the turn of the century in 2000. In the past 26 years, VIR has quickly become a top-tier racing venue for pros and enthusiasts and novices alike, having footing in anything from IMSA to SCCA, Lucky Dog, and Champ Car events. Today, however, it's world-class GT3 cars with NARL GT3 AM drivers behind the wheel fighting a top-class points battle. Welcome to Pit Stop TV in the virtual Alton, Virginia. My name is Andrew Cardinale IV with Chris Winstone alongside as per usual, and this is going to be a fun one. Tonight's coverage from VIR is brought to you by Muradness, by JS Consulting, and by Screw Compressor Service Incorporated. I'm excited for this one, Chris. I know I was last week as well when the pros came here, and I always talk very highly of this racetrack. It deserves it. It is a world-class racing facility. It's not so much fan-oriented. It's definitely team and driver-oriented, that's for sure. But I think if we got some grandstands up here, it might ruin the appeal of it just a little bit. It is such a cool place to go race. It really feels authentic in kind of throwback road racing. It feels like it is straight out of the 50s or 60s. It feels like an old racetrack in the best of ways.
Yeah, I mean, it's even in the virtual track, it's just beautiful. I'm really excited for this one. The Pro-Am race was, when I watched the broadcast back, I think that was one of the most exciting races we've had in this league. So I expect pretty much the same thing from these guys, especially considering we've got the top, 5 or 6 guys in the championship basically under a blanket together. So this should be a good one.
Speaking of that championship and the points and everything, take a look at this. It is very, very close. As you mentioned, a bunch of the top drivers right all together. And look at that, the top 5 all now have 2 wins, and they're only separated by 11 points apiece. And admittedly, a few rounds ago, I might have considered a couple of these guys too far out of it, but here we are, 2 rounds to go. Any of those top 5, maybe even top 6, have a shot at this championship. I think you might be a little too far back if you're Armando Aarons and Devin Jenkins, especially with the lower car count tonight. But certainly, Chris, if you're in the top 5, it is straight up fair game.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously those guys are in it, and even like you said, Aarons may be a little far back, but you never know what can happen. There's already some guys I can see kind of trying to upset the established order of things. We got Dan Sales already. He's got some really strong pace here already. In the practice, he was into the 43, so top 5 pace. Dean Kerr, I see him kind of sniffing around the top 5. He's kind of looking at that invert position, so we could really get things mixed up. And, there's bound to be a little bit of chaos, too, to get things kind of shaken up a little bit further.
And there are great battles all throughout this class, this series, right? I mean, little pocket battles. For example, Logan Smith, Diego Mello, just 1 point apart, the two of them. I don't know that they're both here tonight. I see they might actually, neither one of them are here tonight, so I guess they'll stay 1 point apart until next round at Road America. But it's a bunch of those little battles. Mitch Buenaventura, Armando Bejaran, they're just 2 points apart. I think they're both here tonight. So it's these little battles all throughout the field. It's going to make it interesting beyond just the championship, but obviously our business, as far as the broadcast goes, will certainly be centered on the top 3 being 2 points apart, the top 4 being 4 points apart, and the top 5 being just 11 points apart. It is very, very tight up there, and it's going to be very interesting watching this evening's events take place and pan out before next round's finale in a couple of weeks at Road America. Let's get into the iRacing Sim proper. Here we go. No, the B-roll always looks just a little bit better, but here we go into the race session with cars on track for qualifying. And I do want to take a look at a good bit of this here early while guys are still qualifying, because this qualifying session with this lower car count might be everything. We won't see quite as much calamity like we saw in the pro race here last week. 20 cars on the racetrack tonight, that's it. It's going to be a little bit tighter, a little more genuine, I think, between every driver. And they're really going to need to nail every bit of this race session, from qualifying to the race, the sprint race, the invert, every bit of it has to be done intentionally and solidly to be able to be at the front tonight.
Yeah, you really can't afford, I mean, in any division in this league to make any mistakes. It's so costly. I mean, looking at the practice times, we've got, I mean, I think it's the top 13 or about top 14 covered by just a second. And all the way back to the back of the field, the whole field is covered by 1.5 seconds, which is madness. And we're getting towards the end of the season. Like you said, we've got those little battles, so the drivers are going to be looking at that. You're going to be thinking, okay, well, I'm not in top 10, but if I do this, you know, I can beat this guy, and then I'll be up in the top 10, or then I'll be up in the top 5. So always trying to get any extra position you can. There's always a little bit. You'll find something to be competitive about. I'm really excited for this one. I think, especially after last week, this is just. I'm also excited to see how Jourdain White does. I'm really excited for that. Kind of worked with him a little bit. He was helping me out with some other oval stuff and teaching me how to drive, and so he's my boy tonight. I'll try not to be too biased, but I'm really excited to see how he does.
Here's a look at Emiliano Almiron. We took a look briefly at Jourdain White. He does not have a lap in just yet. Almiron, though, on top of the board currently. As you see those times start to roll in. Almiron at a 144.62 versus Alcrudo's 144.65. So about 3/100ths of a second between those two. Dan Zell's not far back. I'm glad you mentioned him. That Lamborghini looking good. And, you know, I think we're going to see a shift late this season. These guys are locked into their car choices. But these mid-engine cars, I think iRacing took notice of the front-engine revolution in GT3, and there has been some BOP adjustments. The mid-engine cars, Lamborghini specifically, has seen a bit of a buff and is much faster.
Yeah, I was kind of sad to see my old Ferrari got a bit of an upgrade, and now I miss it, but it's all right. You know, the Mustang's fun too. Everybody enjoys the front-engine cars; they sound nice, but I think. Honestly, I prefer the look of some of those sleeker mid-engine cars like the McLaren and the Ferrari and the Lambo. They really kind of look more aggressive.
Bunch of times coming in real quick. Devin Jenkins went up to third as Emiliano Almiron went fastest. And Jourdain White now has a time in. He's 15th so far out of these 20. He's got some room to pick up these next couple of laps. Let's see what he can do as Armando Aarons goes up to second, beating out his teammate Miguel Alcrudo. It'll be interesting to see exactly who grabs pole tonight. And of course, even if you start up front, start first, for example, and win this sprint race, that's putting you nearly halfway back into the field tonight with the 8-car invert in a 20-car race.
Yeah, I mean, that could be, it could be pretty hard to make up all those positions. I mean, you know, you can do a little pit strategy, maybe save some fuel while you're back in the pack a little bit, but it's really hard to move through the field as tight as it is. As we see Almiron still up there in P1 as he's doing his lap. I mean, he is just always up front. Like, there's a few drivers I think we know. It's like, okay, you guys are ready to come to Pro-Am. Almiron is definitely one of them. Aarons and Alcrudo, DeLeo. I think all four of those guys for sure. I think you could stick them in there and they'll run, you know, at least half of the Pro-Am field already.
Should we see some promotion and relegation between seasons? Should we see some guys get knocked down or just moved up? Whoa! Alcrudo loose. I think that's Hogpen. It was. He just completely drifted around that corner. I'm surprised by that.
Oh, and that's so costly. It looks like, yeah, he's slowing. Is he slowing it down?
Yeah, that was his last lap of qualifying. That's what he did for his run.
And that's terrible because that's when your tires are actually finally up to temperature. We see DeLeo coming around in the really nice looking Corvette. We'll see what he can do. He's been fast in practice. See if he can get down in the 43s here and get in front of Almiron. Not quite. Just going to miss out by... Yep. Just barely. P2. P2's good, though.
Armando Bejaran up to 7th. Jourdain White on the racetrack. This is his 3rd lap. He is up to 13th. David Stevenson just went top 5. Let's see what this Jamaican driver has got here this evening. Pierre Thompson, the other Jamaican driver in the series, he is down in 15th. That's surprising to me that Pierre would be that low, but he'll get to the start-finish line here in a moment. Let's see if he goes faster this lap. The pole time so far, a 1:43.967, so he's about a second and a half off.
Wondering if he invalidated his second lap, maybe.
Doesn't look like it based on timing and scoring, but anything's possible. Across the line, he picks up a little bit, but not very much. That'll put him at, I think, 14th and that bumps Jourdain back down to 15th. Here's Jourdain White across the start-finish line in just a moment. We'll see what the number 11 has got in store. That picks up pretty nicely, a 144.5. That's 8th.
Yes. All right. Yeah, that was a pretty mega lap. Yeah, it's kind of interesting. We don't expect to see Pierre Thompson back there. I wonder, maybe he's just not familiar with this track as much.
I want to say
maybe
he's one of
didn't have
those
time to practice
guys. I want to say he's one of those guys that told us he doesn't like this racetrack or doesn't know it very well. And I mean, I hate to say it this way, but that's kind of apparent. It definitely shows this is not one of his stronger racetracks so far in this qualifying session. But we've got a lot more to take a look at here this evening, and of course, we always like taking a look at those power rankings, right, to get the day started. And, well, here they are, right there, bottom right of your screen. The top three have kind of solidified in those top positions, admittedly, with Pierre Thompson up top, Jose De Leo closely behind, Miguel Alcrudo a little ways back now. Some interesting notes, I think, in this grouping of top 10 drivers. Mason Houseman's still here, but he dropped slightly, mostly because Anthony Wayand jumped in and got that win at Suzuka last round. So that was pretty big for Anthony to grab a win. And then Armando Aarons jumped up as well. David Stevenson dropped a good bit. And look at Dominic Turcotte into the top 10 now, coming into this round. That's got to be a real confidence booster for him to, you know, finally see the fruits of his labor coming out and him towards the front.
Yeah, that's really good, really strong performance. I think you know, I think he's been one of those this season. I think you mentioned in the Discord earlier about there's been a lot of regulars who have had kind of some bad luck as far as this season goes, and I think he's one of those. Also Gritzko. So hopefully we'll see those guys a little bit more in the future. But it's good to see at least Dominic has he's put a stamp on it. He's got himself up there. So count it.
He is making progress for sure. And hey, you know what? As long as making forward progress, that's all we can really ask for, right? So props to him and so many drivers making their way through this series. Cars are headed to the grid, and I think everybody's already loaded up. Let's go ahead and go through your ATVO starting grid then and get to some other business. So your top, well, front row, here we go. Emiliano Almiron, Argentina alongside Puerto Rico. Mercedes alongside Chevrolet. Emiliano Almiron alongside Jose De Leo on the front row of the grid tonight. Armando Aarons and Miguel Alcrudo, a couple of Ford Mustangs there in row number 2, ahead of David Stevenson and Anthony Wayand. A little farther back in row number 4, Devin Jenkins and Jourdain White. They are technically starting inside of the invert. We'll see if they can hold those spots or even improve in the next 20 minutes coming up. Back in row number 5, though, to complete the top half of the field even, Armando Bejaran and Mitch Buenaventura.
All right, and moving back to row 6, we have Dominic Turcotte, as we saw him on the power rankings there, lining up next to his Canadian brethren of Dan Sales, so good to see them together. Moving back, we have Alex DeMarco lining up next to Dean Kerr. And then further back from there, we have Pierre Thompson. A little bit of a slide and unexpected, but, you know, as we mentioned, he's not a fan of the track, so that's all right. And he'll be lining up next to Mark Booley. Then we have the Ford of Christian Gritzko lining up in 17th alongside Robert Guadagnoli in the AMG. So a couple of regulars there next to each other. And then finally, to round everything out, we have Justin Cornett and Jeff Denardi, who should be looking just to kind of avoid the impending doom that can sometimes occur.
First lap incidents can be pretty large here, of course. You see these guys through the lower and into the upper S's this evening, and it's definitely a tricky racetrack. You see the quick left, right through these S's. It's a very tight racing line. You can't really go side by side through either set of S's. You got to be very, very careful and intentional about what you're doing, especially as you approach South Bend. You see it there, that really hard left. Maybe it doesn't look that crazy from this perspective, but it is a really difficult corner.
Yeah, definitely. That kink there, it can catch some drivers out, and especially look for on lap 1, some guys kind of running wide, getting into the grass on the other side of that, which if you get turned backwards, you can end up sliding all the way down that hill across that grass and end up going across the field as they're coming onto the straight out of the hairpin. So it's definitely something to watch out for. The car gets real unbalanced, and on cold tires, it's tricky.
A look here at Whiplash SimCam's race details. A 20-minute sprint followed by a 40-minute feature race. There'll be a top 8 invert, as we've mentioned, between these two races. Fixed setup, 45% fuel. It's all the same details as it has been all season long. Weather conditions brought to you by MX Wraps. Here they are, 68.6 degrees in the air, 79 on track, clear skies. The humidity is a little high, I guess, for iRacing, but not too crazy for, let's see, the date and time in sim. April 30th. I mean, admittedly, it's a little chilly here these days because we have a storm coming in, but this is not far from where I live, and typically this time of year, it's starting to get pretty warm. The humidity's starting to jump up, and it's starting to get disgusting outside, for lack of a better term. So, I do not like the summer in the Carolinas and Virginias, but, well, that's just the way it goes. So as the field works down through Roller Coaster and Hog Bend, coming around the final bend, this is one of my favorite racetracks. Hopefully you all enjoy it here this evening as well. VIR for some North American Racing League action. There's the field. Down out of the final corner, the long run to the start-finish line. Emiliano Almiron on the loud pedal, and we're racing already at VIR.
Everybody very quickly falls into single file, but watch for people making sends up the inside here in the heavy braking zone. Everybody kind of keeps themselves together and very nice and polite back there, it seems. You got some teammates in third and fourth, just kind of being nice to each other. Here we come around a really tricky braking section into turn 3 here, and there we go.
Couple of cars off. Jordan White, one of them. David Stevenson, Anthony Way into the others, it seems. We'll come back and get a look at that next lap or so. Here they are into the lower S's. This gives you a really cool perspective of just how tight this little section is. It looks okay now, but when you get up to these faster S's, the upper S's, it's completely different.
Yeah, it's really not anywhere you can make moves or get side by side, and you're kind of right on the edge of the grip in the early part. There we go. See people running a little wide as the field kind of single files out.
Yeah, Jose De Leo dropped a couple of wheels there out of South Bend, and man, these guys even getting wide at Oak Tree. They are pushing the issue here on lap 1. I guess with a field this tight, you see that the tire warming back there from Bejarano to Buenaventura. I guess with the field being this small, you've got to make every moment count.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I mean, you're some guys, one thing that's really important to do, and I think might be a good idea for more drivers to practice, the amateur drivers especially, the pros and pro-ams will do this. You want to practice on cold tires, because if you have a bit of an advantage on someone, if you're more used to the car on cold tires, under those conditions where it's real slick, you can start to make up later in the first couple of laps. Make up some good positions. You can see DeLeo's kind of feeling a little bit of pressure. It's backed off a little bit, but you know that Arends and Al Crudo are going to be wanting to kind of pip that position and see if they can get in there and work together to accomplish that.
Already a pit lane visit here from David Stevenson. This seems to be, to my trained eye, without having the iRacing UI open, this seems like this might be a penalty. Maybe not. Fast fix down and away. Unless it was a stop and go that fast. That seems like a fast fix real quick. I didn't see much damage on the car, but Stevenson in and out of the pit lane quick. Let's go back and see what happened on lap 1 for these drivers. Obviously, we saw a little bit of excitement there around NASCAR Bend, and there's the aftermath of it. Let's go back a little farther. I saw Jordan White kind of at the center of it. He's in car number 2 tonight. Watch that, I guess number 11 by league scoring, but watch that white, blue, and black Ford Mustang. Devin Jenkins to his left side. Armando Bejarano behind. Jourdain through NASCAR Bend. Looks okay. Left hook and loose. As Wayand was having issues.
Yep, looks like he was just trying to avoid that. And, I mean, you're already on the edge of grip. He did what he could. I mean, definitely nothing wrong there that he did. And he doesn't look like he's got any damage. He rejoined safely, so let's see what happened ahead of him here.
This, I think, is going to be the more interesting incident. As you saw the 777 come back to the pit lane there for some damage repair. Anthony Wayand to the inside there. Yeah, that's just arguing on first lap.
Yeah, I'm not even necessarily sure Wayand would have made that corner. It's hard to tell from that angle. It's really hard to see, but yeah, there's only so much space in there, and Like I said, you're on the edge of grip. It's kind of like turn 1 in Suzuka, where you're trying to use the brakes to kind of turn the car, and on the first lap, that's extra tricky. Let's see if there's any contact here.
I think Stevenson definitely pinched a little bit unintentionally. I don't think either driver did anything here to maliciously versus the other. I think this is just guys getting close on the first lap and making contact, and see if we can get a better view maybe from overhead. There's a lot of trees here, so it's tricky. But right here, like, Wayand has room, and he didn't come over too far. I think Stevenson, if anything, could have left more room.
There's a mega miss for you. That could have really damaged the back end of either of their cars. But yeah, like you said, I don't think any driver did anything really wrong there. It's just kind of racing. It looks like maybe when he gets up on this curb, there's a little bit of a, it's still a flat curb. Did go in a little hot.
Whoa! Code Brown, I think, for Anthony Wayand there on lap 1.
Good job getting back in. I think everybody rejoined pretty well, so.
And that brings us back to this fight. Look at this. This could be for the championship. Almiron versus DeLeo. We've well chronicled all of these battles between DeLeo, Almiron, Alcrudo, and everybody for this championship. Thompson in there as well. This could be what it comes down to. Just a couple of guys that happen to get out front and do battle the rest of the evening here tonight and in a couple of weeks at Road America.
Well, and one thing that's going to help is if you're Almiron and you're in front, as far as the championship goes, the qualifying, you get a bonus for I think it's 1 bonus point for qualifying on pole. And that I think we're at the point where that is huge, because now it's 2 points less for second, I believe, than first. So if DeLeo finishes in front, but Almiron qualifies first, then they kind of nullify each other out. So Almiron's got a little bit of the advantage from really, that's all it takes is just a solid quality. God, this is a great camera. Really shows you the absolute speed they're ripping through here with.
Well, so I believe these guys cannot drop the final race, right? So we should know the picture when we get to Road America in a couple of weeks, because if they can't drop that race, they will have all their drops figured in. It's just what they earn at Road America that decides the championship at that point. So while tonight it's a little bit more up in the air because we can't guarantee what the drop will be, we should have a good idea when we get to the finale exactly who's going to have what and who needs to do what. But yeah, that 1 point right now certainly does make a difference. I guess if it ends up dropping a different result for anybody, that could shake things up. But I think for what we're dealing with, yes, that 1 point for qualifying is going to make a big difference for Emiliano currently, and that brings it down to a 3-point spread between your top 4 positions in the standings, and that is just kind of insane, I think is the word to think about between those 4. And tossing Anthony Wayand, he's a little farther back on the racetrack right now. There he is in 10th, but he's not even that far back. I mean, still earning some solid points, and if he can get into the invert spot into 8th, that would be huge.
Yeah, I mean that would almost be a dream scenario for him, honestly, if he can manage it. And it's in sight. You got 12.5 minutes. If you get Sales in front of you, then somebody might spin. Might be contact between a couple cars. All you need is someone to make one mistake. And even if you can't catch the next guy, that's it. You're in the catbird seat. So he's doing everything he can to recover from his incident earlier.
We've been corrected. Scott Reiser just messaged me. It's actually 2 bonus points for the pole.
Ooh.
Also a 2 bonus point, or 2 bonus points if you get 0x between the 2 races. So if you stay clean all night long, not just one race or the other, that is 2 extra bonus points, and that certainly is a little more likely if you're the leader. But I saw a lot of these guys dropping wheels lap 1. How guaranteed is that at a racetrack like VIR, where you go a few inches too far over the white line and it's quickly a 1x?
I'd be pretty shocked if we saw somebody get 0x for 60 minutes worth of laps around this place, but you never know. Maybe one of the guys in the back can do it. But I think as far as the championship leaders, they're trying to get just as many positions and points. You want to get it done on pace. hang it. I'm not worried about the 1x. I'm not worried about that point or those points. I'm just going to go out and be faster. But yeah, it's every little bit's going to count. So maybe if you are in front, if you feel like you have the extra pace, if you're Almiron and say, I think I can keep him back if I just don't push too hard. I mean, as you can see, he's not. I mean, let's see here. How much of the track is he using right now? Is he going for that? Well, that's the thing. You also have to, when you get inverted, you'll have to go back through the field. And the odds are that you're going to get tapped and lose that.
Well, and I've actually been corrected again. Scott Reiser letting me know that it's actually, I guess, between each race. So 2 points for each race that you go 0x, whether it's the sprint or the feature, which actually begs the question, should we have an extra bonus if you manage to do both with a 0x? That might be something to look at, but regardless, yeah, you bring up very valid points. And I guess the genius that I see with this format and why I love it so much, you could play the invert, you could go for 8th in the sprint race and get the pole for the feature, but is that not effectively, even if you win the feature race from first, is that not effectively the same as if you had finished 4th and 5th in the 2 races, right? Yep. So you could try to play the invert, but you are certainly more, I guess, incentivized to still get all the positions you can, because I don't like playing just to get 8th place. I mean, maybe if you're in 7th, or you know what, maybe if you're in 6th, you let 7th go so you get the front row. I could see that. Otherwise, I think you always just want to go and get all you can. I say all of this as Jose De Leo is getting all he can. He's right on the bumper of Emiliano Almiron, and certainly the draft is going to be helping him here, Chris, but he just ripped off the fastest lap of the race.
Yeah, that's strong. He's going to, basically what you got to do is you got to make Almiron drive in his mirrors. You want to try to distract him. The more you can pressure him, the more likely a mistake is, and that means you just get the position. So he's going to be trying that, and like you said, the draft's going to be working for him. It's going to be working against him when he goes through that tight section of Sector 1 especially. These guys at the front, they're going to feel that. They're going to notice the difference in grip, and they'll have to adjust for it. But then once we get back here, especially to the straight, and we'll see a nice clean, look at the nice consistency. They both hit that line perfect. I mean, these guys are like clockwork, even here in the AMs. So it's just the level of driving in every division of this league just never ceases to amaze me. I love it. It's great fun to watch. It's great fun to participate in. A little far back right now, but
yeah, he kind of fell back this lap. I think that's something that's plaguing racing as a whole. This is not an attack on any one discipline of motorsport, but I think unless you go to like rallycross or something, it seems like any car you get in, or I guess Miatas, perhaps. It seems like any car you get in, whether it's stock car racing on ovals or road courses for that matter, or sports cars in this case, you can get to somebody relatively easily. I think modern motorsport regulations have kind of allowed that. There are better ways to catch up now, but passing is a whole different thing. You get behind somebody, you're just stuck. You lose time because you're in their wake, and literally in their wake, in their aero wake, in their tire tracks, and you lose all that front downforce, and it really costs you. It doesn't matter, again, what it is. It seems like any kind of high-level motorsport is suffering that issue right now. I don't know if there is any one fix either, because we've gotten so good as a motorsports industry at designing and engineering these cars to go really, really fast and make downforce out of every little bit of the car that it's part of racing these days.
Yeah, it's just kind of the nature of the beast. I mean, that said, we're saying all that, and you can see DeLeo's a lot closer now than he was the last time through Sector 1, so he's made some adjustments. And, I mean, we're still kind of at the level where you will be able to find some more pace. You'll be able to feel it, but if you adjust, you can definitely find the pace and stick to him. And that's what he's done. He's 0.2 closer than he was when we got here last lap. I don't think it's going to be enough, but again, he seems to be faster through this section right here. This final sector was where he made up a really good chunk of time in the last lap. And since he's so close, we might see. Oh, I mean, look at that. Almiron runs way too wide. That's the problem. Almiron's just kind of overdriving the car over there. This looks good. Okay, well, he kind of redeemed himself with the last couple of corners, but he's got to be careful. If you overdrive the car too much because you see him back there, that's exactly what DeLeo's trying to accomplish.
We got the fan cam perspectives out in force this evening. Brendan Maddox, if you're watching, eat your heart out. These are some good shots around the racetrack, give you an idea of kind of what it looks like. And I like these shots as well where you can see kind of racing in the background. You don't just see what we're focused on. You see other stuff around the racetrack, and there are some great battles all around right now. Here's one of them. If I can find the camera I want, let's go for this. This is just a train of cars in the midfield. And again, they're kind of stuck a little bit. You know, Aero dictates a lot of this, but I think in the mid-pack you can certainly force guys into a mistake a little bit easier, show the nose, kind of get right up on them if you're able to, and just kind of force a mistake out of somebody. Here's Dominic Turcotte, and I think that's Dan Sales. Yeah, side by side into the upper S's. This is crazy! There you go, a bunch of contact. Are they gonna hold it? Wow, maybe not! There goes Turcotte! Saw that coming from a mile away.
Yeah, as he slides down the hill, I mean, we'll have to take a look at it, see what happened, but yeah, there you go, just kind of cut through. You're going to get a penalty, it's fine.
That is
not penalty, it's slow down, it's fine.
That is a dystopian view for Dominic Turcotte. Yep. To be just side by side, heads up racing, and suddenly be out in the grass, that far isolated from any pavement of the racing course. Here's a look from high above. You see Sales just
peak wheel banging.
Oh, they should have wrecked there.
Yeah, I'm surprised they didn't. Yeah, I mean, he wasn't really giving him any room. You can see, and he got away with the one in that first corner, but you know he's there. He's well alongside. And I mean, that's the thing. There's barely room for two cars through there, so you can do it, but you got to be perfect. And they tried. It was see that he was just straight lining it.
I wonder if Dominic even knew he was there.
I mean, usually your spotter will still come in and tell you.
Yeah. I would think so, but the way he kind of took the mid part of the apparatus there, it's almost like he didn't realize. I'll show you what I mean here. Let's slow it down in a second. So he comes off the curbing. Maybe it was the curbing. But he came over right there in that corner like he just didn't realize Dan was there at all. But it may have just been the curbing regardless. This is a really unfortunate incident. You see the eventual contact. Dan Sales maybe could have got farther left, but there wasn't much room there as a whole.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's kind of more of a racing incident. The first one, like you said, it looks like he kind of straight lines it a little bit. Maybe that was the curb coming into play. And it's great view from Anthony Wayne's car. I'm sure he was with a little bit of a lift here. Like, okay, you guys just sort that out.
Yeah, I mean, Dan might have nudged just slightly too far over, but, you know, I will say, if I'm Dominic, I'm probably still mad at Dan just for forcing that in that set of corners, but if you're going to go side-by-side heads up, I do think Dominic kind of initiated the contact. It is what it is. It's racing, I think, and I'll be interested to see if a penalty does come from that. I could see the justification for it, maybe, but heads-up stuff is heads-up stuff. Here we go. This should be 2 to go. And it will be for Emiliano Almiron and Jose DeLeo. As Leo goes fastest, watch out. He nearly wiped him out in turn 1. It's interesting, he just broke into the 143s, as did nobody actually. So that's the first 143 in race trim. We also barely saw Almiron get into the 143s in qualifying, so it's interesting they are both capable of it. Obviously, Almiron in qualifying, no help with the draft, and DeLeo had the draft on that lap, but still interesting. These two definitely are the cream of the crop today, I think.
Yeah, they're really putting on a show, and I mean, I'm excited. I think we're going to have a move for the lead here pretty soon, as we see here's Jourdain White, and his bad day gets a little worse. Just kind of had a spin, I think, which happens. It's tricky. This one requires a lot of practice to get just right. Let's see what happens here.
Racing back here with his hero, Pierre Thompson, and ends up just sideways off the corner. I mean, is there anything he can do to adjust for that? It seems like maybe some TC could help, but I don't think he can adjust that, right?
No, the only thing you can really adjust is brake bias, and since that wasn't in the entry, you can see he's just going to get on the throttle a little bit too hard here. Which that's just from, you know, you're further into the stint. The tires are getting a little worn. With the slide before, that's going to kind of wear him down a little bit quicker. So overall, I mean, he's looking pretty comfortable with the car, but it's one of those things where every once in a while you just got to be ready for that snap. And it's a small field. It looks like he's still P14. From what it's saying on my, well, that just hasn't updated yet because he hasn't been back around. So I think that's more, yeah, that's correct, P18. But small field, so plenty of time to make that up in a 40-minute feature.
And that's what he's going to have to do, is rely on the feature race to kind of cool down a little bit, let some other guys have some issues, and try to reap those benefits. Battle for ninth, Alex DeMarco ahead of teammate Dean Kerr. This is the first spot outside of the invert, and you see the invert ahead now in Anthony Way. And also, it seems Dan Sales has not served a penalty, but has given some time up. He is now down in 12th spot. Wonder if maybe he had a further excursion off the racetrack at some point, but way in now into the transfer, which we talked about earlier, I think on lap, 2 or 3. This could be big for Anthony, depending on what he can do in the feature race. And of course, we have the white flag brought to you by Whiplash SimCams. Final time through Oak Tree here in the sprint race between these two leaders, Emiliano Almiron, Jose De Leo. What can they do? Al Crudo's not far back.
DeLeo's going to need a mistake here from Almiron. He's going to need him to slip up somewhere in this final sector. Otherwise, it's not going to be close enough to really take advantage of the toe going down to the line. So all you got to do if you're Almiron, just keep it clean here.
Yeah, I really don't think there's much of a passing zone now. That is it right there into roller coaster. That's the final good opportunity to try and make a pass if you're Jose De Leo. Now through Hogpen, you're just trying to hang on. Let's see if they can get back to the stripe uneventfully. I think they will. Back on power here, and Emiliano Almiron will take the sprint race here tonight at VIR for the amateur drivers. There's Al Crudo and Aaron's across the line. Here comes Devin Jenkins. The next battle on the racetrack is going to be 9th and 10th. How about Buenaventura in an invert spot? He will start second in the feature race. Look at this fight here. Look at what is behind him. Booley and Sales side by side. Who's going to have it at the stripe? Oh, Sales got him. 11th place.
A little friendly wheel banging there at the end. It's pretty harmless, but you know, that's always fun. Make it interesting as we see some damage here for Justin Cornett. Wonder what happened to him.
There goes Christian Gritzko, Jordan White, David Stevenson way back here, and finally Jeff Denardi will wrap up our sprint race here at VIR. You know, one thing we've not looked at yet tonight is the schedule for season number 9 of GT3 racing, and while I don't really have a full graphic yet for the Porsche Cup schedule, we do know what racetracks we're going to. We're still working on finalizing dates. We have a few series that are kind of doing several things this summer, so we have to kind of fit it all in and find the right dates for everyone. But we can take a look first here. Here are the amateur dates for Season 9 of GT3 Racing. We're obviously at the back end here, so it's not as flashy and significant now, but you see Red Bull Ring back in January, Spa, Indianapolis, Mexico, Watkins Glen, Suzuka, VIR, Road America, a fantastic 8-race slate. And Chris, the 8 races that we will see for each division in Porsche Cup racing this summer, well, they are as follows. Once I find myself the right channel, here we go. Oh, but that's from 2023. Never mind. I gotta find. Hang on. I know it's here somewhere. Scott Racer, where is it? I know it's. I was looking at it literally earlier today. I know it's in here. Chris, where did it go?
I wish I knew. No impact, no idea.
Scott's
I was really looking forward to you telling me, actually.
Scott's probably going to send it to me in a second. He comes through with all the facts and stuff that I can't find right away very quickly. Here we go. I found it. Scott, you can rest easy. Hockenheimring. We have not opened a season at Hockenheimring since I believe the first round of the initial Porsche Cup season for NARL. So that is going to be interesting to go back to Hockenheimring. We've not been there in a long time. Sebring for round 2, then Le Mans for round 3. I always love Le Mans. Long Beach, from Le Mans to Long Beach, that's kind of crazy. Monza Grand Prix, that's exciting. Daytona, back on the schedule. Phillip Island and Interlagos. It's like a lot of the runner-ups, I think, from this GT3 season. Consider we're getting Phillip Island, Daytona, Interlagos. Those are some fantastic racetracks, and there's a lot that I'd like to get, and Scott, I think, always prepares to just kind of file my suggestions in the back of the cabinet, and that's okay. I sent him a list of tracks. I mean, it's like a bunch of the new ones and stuff, and I get he's got to try and gauge driver interest too, so that's just part of the game. But a lot of great racetracks, certainly, I think, in the Season 4 slate for Porsche Cup Racing later this summer. Again, that's going to be on Thursdays, of course, Porsche Cup cars. It's going to be fun to slot into the schedule once we finalize those dates. But for now, the next few broadcasts on our Pit Stop TV slate look like this. Tomorrow night, we actually have the return of the Steering Wheel Nation Truck Series. They've been off since March. Chris, I know you're planning to run in that race tomorrow night. Should be a lot of fun to kick off the month of May. I'm excited for it. NASCAR trucks, Las Vegas, always a good time. And then Watkins Glen for the All-American Racing Network. You're also racing in that. So their Next Gen Cup Series taking to Watkins Glen. That sounds like it's kind of up your alley for your debut in that series with NASCAR Cup cars. Of course, they have the sequential gearbox, 5-speed versus 4-speed. It's a bit of a weird, I guess, mesh of stock car racing and GT car racing. And then Monday, we of course go back racing with the NORA Retro Cup Series at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Of course, next week we have a very full slate. Very full. In fact, from Sunday to, I think, Saturday, we have a broadcast every day. It's going to be a very full week. Just the way the schedule is aligned, I don't know why it happened that way, but we've got Sunday ARN at Watkins Glen, Monday NORA at Charlotte, Tuesday BRB at Mexico City, actually, some more road course racing this week. Wednesday we have 410 sprint cars at Kokomo. Thursday we have NARL Pros at Road America for their 7th round of racing. Friday we have Steering Wheel Nation at Charlotte. And then Saturday, we will have a charity event, actually, for All-American Racing Network, and our Whiplash Racing League will be a part of that. That'll be exciting to kind of bring some legend car racing, some better half racing, and then some truck racing later that night. So it's going to be an exciting week. Kayla is probably plotting my downfall as we speak, but it's going to be a full week of Pit Stop TV broadcasting for sure as we move forward into the next 10 days, pretty much.
It's an action-packed schedule. I'm really excited for the races I'm going to do. I'm excited to. I mean, we haven't plugged the fantasy yet. Here's an opportunity to do that. I'm really excited with my new picks. I'm going to put those in, see how I do. I kind of started doing a lot of research, going back watching old broadcasts, seeing who's good at what tracks, trying to snoop. But yeah, trucks on Friday, going to be awesome. The Sunday morning, going to be awesome. It's going to be just a whirlwind of different vehicles and different racing and just so much fun. So
yes, and we have 3 opportunities for you to play the Whiplash Fantasy game here on Pit Stop TV. Those are the ARN race on Sunday morning, the NORA race on Monday evening, and the BRB race on Tuesday evening. And I kind of have a plan for this, actually, Chris. I plan to announce it next week. But I think we're going to take the final round of each series here in NARL and just kind of create a basis of what to expect for Porsche Cup Season 4. We're going to implement this fantasy game. So kind of off the cuff here, kind of what we're planning to do. We're going to do each of the final rounds, each of the finales for the North American Racing League GT3 Season 9 here, and just kind of mess around. That way there's no kind of making sure you don't pick the same guy 2 weeks in a row. It'll be one series 1 week, one series a couple weeks after, that's it. And just kind of test the waters, see how it looks as these guys get onto the grid here for their feature race. I think that's a good way to kind of test the waters, see how things look, and if it goes well, integrate it for season number 4 of Porsche Cup Racing later on this year. But drivers are headed out to the racetrack. You see them leaving the pit lane. Let's go through your starting grid here for the feature race at VIR. On pole, Anthony Wayand alongside Mitch Buenaventura. How about that? These guys each have a great opportunity in front of them. For Wayand, it could play into the championship. Who knows? Back in row number 2, Armando Bejeron alongside Devin Jenkins, and one of the only Ferrari, maybe the only Ferrari here tonight in position number 4. It'll be Armando Aarons and Miguel Alcrudo, a couple of Puerto Rican drivers from row number 3. And another Puerto Rican there, Jose De Leo, alongside Emiliano Almiron. It's not a very big island. How many of them are there that all race in NARL? That's pretty crazy. Back in row 5, Alex DeMarco and Dean Kerr.
And then row number 6, we have Dan Sales and next to Mark Booley in P12. Then moving back, we have Robert Guadagnoli lining up alongside Pierre Thompson to make that an all-Mercedes row 7. Then moving one further back, there's Dominic Turcotte and lining up next to Justin Cornett. P17 is Christian Gritsko. He's going to line up to Jordan A. White, who's going to be looking to make his way back through the field. Then we have David Stevenson and Jeff Denardi in the Lamborghini, who are going to round out the rest of the field for us.
And again, with Whiplash Cam's race details, it's all the same stuff, right? By this point in the season, we know the drill. Everybody's out there for 40 minutes. We expect a pit stop somewhere between 20 and 15, maybe 10 minutes to go, somewhere in that kind of third quarter zone of the race. To set these guys up for the run to the end. Of course, that incident limit might actually come into effect here in this feature race. 15x incident limit, 5x thereafter. That could add up very, very quickly, and you could end up having to take a couple of trips down the pit lane. Hopefully, that doesn't happen to anybody. Let's take a look at the weather conditions brought to you by MX Wraps. It's a little warmer, I think, in this feature race. 70.7 now in the air, 89 on track. The date and time, it's advanced, maybe an hour. Clear skies, humidity's dropped a little bit. We're starting to burn that morning layer off, I guess, and get later in the day. It's a little warmer, but a little, I think, less humid and nasty and sticky.
Yeah, which is, good if you're out watching a race, but not so great if you're driving on the track where it's going to be a little bit more slick than it was. So guys who practiced in kind of warmer temperatures, that's often a pretty good thing to do. It grips up when it's cold, so if you practice when it's hot, then you can just kind of break a little bit later and make the adjustments easier. I always find, personally, it's easier to adjust that way than from practicing on a nice, cool, grippy track than going to a hot one. So we'll see who can make that adjustment here and who's going to drop a wheel or miss a braking point and generate excitement.
And before we go racing for our feature race here tonight, a big thank you to our partners, Baradness, JS Consulting, Screw Compressor Service Incorporated, and Rocket Designs, and our partners here at the channel. There's a handful of them: Whiplash Simcams, MX Wraps, ATVO, Murtis Esports, CC's Business, NARL, Whiplash Creative, and TZO Designs. Here we go. We are green flag racing in the feature at VIR. 40 minutes. Let's go.
Not quite a single file as before. We're going to see some more moves, but Wayne got a really great start. The start kind of favored for the leader favored here in the starts, it seems. As we see, I think that's Jenkins making his way up the inside, and he clears that position, moves himself up onto the podium.
Clean through NASCAR so far. Let's keep it. Whoa! Out wide. Who is that? Alcrudo. What a save. He gets back on the racetrack, but bullies his teammate off to do it. Now Almiron alongside, contact some more. Emiliano's out in the dirt.
There you go. That's some cold tires on a hot track.
Oh,
ooh, there we see somebody off in the background.
Guadagnoli, actually. He's out in the wall. 3 wide up the hill. This is not going to work. Dan Sales backs out. This still might not work. Almiron in the dirt again alongside Alex DeMarco. Oh, man. Up to South Bend. A couple of shots in the shorts. We keep it moving. Unbelievable first lap.
This is just edge of the seat. Like I can't look away. It just feels like it could go wrong so quickly, but they managed to keep everything together. Just really hard, really tough racing. But I mean, you see the whole pack still there. The whole pack is still strong within sight. So, man.
And here's the run to roller coaster. This could get hairy. Bejeron kind of ducked out for a moment. Gets back in line behind Jenkins. DeLeo in his wake. How about up front? Wayand, Buenaventura down the hill to Hogpen. Here they go with a couple of drivers bouncing off each other back here. Denardi and White doing battle. They get down the hill now as Wayand rounds the corner. He's in the lead.
And we see DeLeo already making his way up to P4. So he's going to be up there. I mean, I think he's on track for a win with a first lap like that. Coming from P7 to P4 on the first lap is mega.
That's already getting through a big, healthy portion of the drivers that he's got to pass through this invert, putting him back in 7th on the grid. Still, your top 3, they are nose to tail with DeLeo behind, and look at that! Behron sent it up the inside there. That's low percentage at best, but hey, his teammate is Emiliano Almiron, who is now multiple spots back and potentially going to lose points to DeLeo here. So that's, I think, just trying to play the team game.
Yeah, if you can slow him down, I mean, if it's risky because you're kind of sandwiched between these, two other guys that want to come through. As we see the teammates behind, but yeah, you're just trying to slow him down, help him make up any positions he can. Think of the championship game now.
Devin Jenkins up the inside now. Mitch Buenaventura. A little bit of contact there between those two. Nothing too crazy. Got a little argy-bargy, as they say. And now you see Buenaventura kind of listing over to the driver's right. Jenkins then going to have an opportunity up driver's left here at Roller Coaster. And Mitch did not protect it. Up the inside, Devin Jenkins takes a look. He's there, but backs out.
Yeah, that was a smart decision. You can get away with that sometimes. That is a high-risk place to try and overtake, but it's one of the only places also. It's one of the best places, even as high-risk as it is. But here you go. You've kept the pressure on, and this should be a nice move. It's hard to go around the outside here because you run out of grip really fast.
And around the outside goes Devin Jenkins. That was ill-fated. Here comes Jose DeLeo back into it. He gets pressure now and contact from Bejaran once again. Al Crudo's back in the fight. Aaron's back in the fight. Almiron not too far back.
See, that's huge. So that move by DeLeo, that's kind of what they call that vortex of death, right? The guy's already kind of turning in. He's trying to cut back under. He's not going to have any idea that you're there. So it's good that DeLeo backed out because usually you're going to break the front of your car and or spin the guy in front of you. Not a good look, but smart to back up. And you don't want to waste time here. These guys behind you are like wolves. They're looking for any opportunity they can. If they catch a whiff of a little bit of weakness or a little bit of slowed pace, they're going to be all over you.
Such a cool perspective right here, sitting on the outside of Oak Tree on the exit there, watching them on the approach, up over South Bend, down into that little valley, and then back up into the braking zone. And you see it's gotten them all single file. This is a really cool perspective, top of the hill here, looking all the way down at Oak Tree. Everybody's single file, trying to find their place in this line. Anthony Wayand still leading. Mitch Buenaventura still second. 5 minutes elapsed, and whoa, that was close.
That's all right. No contact, no harm, no foul. Just keep it as close as possible. And honestly, he's gonna notice that was close. Wayand's also gonna say, "Oh, that was close," and that kind of might rattle your cage a little bit. So we'll see. I think he might be a little far back. Didn't look like he had the best run. I think maybe Wayand's a little bit quicker through that section, which is good for setting up moves into turn 1. I think we see DeLeo trying to make a move.
He's got it. Gets by Jenkins.
Yep.
Big move there from Jose DeLeo to get clear of that double lock. I would imagine Jenkins will still put up a fight to the guys behind, and that should space these guys out slightly. Here's Almiron taking a look now at Jenkins. I'm not saying Jenkins is slow, but I think he's currently slower than the guys right behind, and that should just create a little bit of separation and allow Jose to get to work here trying to run down the top 2.
Yeah, I mean, if you're DeLeo, that's a relief. So I always think of it when there's, oh no, this is a disaster for somebody. What's happened here?
We'll take a quick look. One replay here for Jeff Denardi, and then get back to it. It's really, really fun up front. This is Jordan White just behind. Looks to the inside. Denardi kind of faded onto him there. I think that's entirely on the 666.
Yep, you got to know. I mean, if you leave the door open like that, it's something we all got to learn. If you leave the door open like that, they're gonna pounce. So Good move. Sucks that his contact was made and spun, but here we go. Mitch is much quicker. Is he going to make a move? No, just back out here. No need to force it. If you think you're faster, that's the thing. Oh, big mistake from Way-in.
That's what Mitch is going to see that and log that, right? He knows, all right, I can kind of show my nose up the inside of the roller coaster and possibly force this guy into another mistake, and maybe it'll be a bigger one. Maybe I can get that spot, and it'll hold the guys up behind. That's one of those things you log if you Mitch Buenaventura. You know now you can pressure him into messing up right there in particular.
That makes Mitch commit to the outside, and then he opens it up. Mitch's going to try to bring it around the outside, but you run out of grip really quick here. You got a short shift. Be really careful on the throttle, which he does, and then he has the inside going into turn 3, and that, there you go. Oh, nobody carries more speed. Way-in with the excellent speed carried around the outside, and they're going to carry the battle through this section, and the advantage is just going to go back and forth as you swap.
Wow! Power move. Anthony Lynn shuts the door back in Mitch Buenaventura's face. That was impressive out of both drivers. Jose DeLeo tried to take a look, no dice, and now we have a proper conga line up to South Bend.
This is wild. It's just, I mean, that brought everybody back. And it's kind of, when you're in the middle, that is a high-pressure place to be because the guys behind you are getting impatient.
Whoa!
So
There we go. Shoved it up the inside to Devin Jenkins. That backfired. That now slows them down a bit and creates some more separation for the top 3 to try and get away. By the way, Almiron, he's now up into 7th. He's slicing and dicing now, trying to get around Armando Aarons. So Almiron making some advances. Barra now back up the inside of Jenkins to roller coaster, some contact even. Wow, this is amazing stuff.
Just a little bump, just let them know you're there. And again, I mean, this is just a train, just an actual train. And, you know, one thing I was talking about, was going to mention on, oh, man, just another nice overtake here going, yeah, he's just going to let him kind of go by and fall back. But if you're DeLeo, right, and you've got a fast car behind you and you're trying to hold them off, I always think of it when you're overtaking, you get around one guy, it's like when you're in a horror movie and you're running away from the bad guy and you're just throwing chairs and stuff in his way. You're just trying to get in between you tracking you down. And now seeing them battle back there, you see that in your mirror and you're just screaming, just cheering for him. Like, keep that up. Because now Mitch is going to start feeling the pressure. He's been pressuring Wayne this whole time, but now DeLeo's joined the party and you're the guy in the middle. So now you're the one being hunted. And DeLeo gets the nice, easy, let's go ahead and, you know, hassle these guys a little bit.
DeLeo, they just had to slow down. He just had a big checkup back to Devin Jenkins. That is going to cost him so greatly. He's now got a 2.5 seconds back up to Buenaventura. He's now back with the mess. That allows Buenaventura as well the ability to kind of pressure Way-in to do a mistake again, kind of get back alongside if he gets an opportunity. As here we go, side by side out of Oak Tree, Aarons and Emilio Almiron. Wow!
This is so wild. It's just non-stop with these guys. It's great. They keep getting away with it. It's all clean. It's tough. This is some of the best racing, honestly. It's hard to believe that this is the M class. Like, the bar is so high. So we see up there in front that nice Canadian livery tracking down the American Corvette there. And he's lost the toe. He's far enough back. He's not going to have that toe. So he is on his own here and might have to go defensive, as will the leader. Way-in should be guarding that inside again. But we saw fireworks last time. If he can swing it around there, let's see if he tries to go around or does the switch back. He's going to try to bring it around. He likes the grip he's got out there, and he gets the inside for the next corner.
Side by side, heads up for the race lead. Opening portion of the lap. Contact, there they both go! A big spin for both! Here comes Jose DeLeo right around the outside! Wow! Mitch Buenaventura buried now about as deep in the field as the Mariana Trench goes deep in the Earth's crust. That is horrible for Buenaventura. But wow, what luck for Jose DeLeo.
And even more luck for Jose DeLeo. You said crude P6, P9. So something must have happened. I don't know if that incident slowed them up. They had to check up. I mean, Wayand was just sideways right across the middle of the track, and nothing really he could do. It was nice and clean. Everybody avoided it, but woof.
I do wonder if we may see a penalty from race control in that. That will certainly be looked at very, very carefully. I want to see this run into roller coaster first before we go back to any replay, as here comes Aaron's up the inside of Jenkins. At least tried to take a look there. No dice. So let's go back. I want to see that one more time at least, maybe even 2 or 3. Because that is going to be a huge, huge shakeup in tonight's finishing order. This is already late in it. Let's go back a little farther. So take a look here. This is the view we had initially. Same camera. Buenaventura up the inside. I think he did everything right.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of racing. I mean, that's the thing. It's so hard to control the car through there. With a little bit too much brakes, you spin, the back end comes loose. A little, like too little brakes, you just flip off the side. The line's got to be perfect. Yeah, you can see he kind of just comes through, tries to almost not really take his normal line, but pretty close to it, just kind of misjudged. And even unfortunately, it looks like Mitch came off way worse.
There's now been an incident in real time between Turcotte and Sales. So one more look here at Buenaventura and Wayand. I think Wayand cuts down on Buenaventura. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
So if that does get looked at by the stewards, I'll be curious to see what the outcome is. But now an incident live, even for Buenaventura again. There's a lot going on. Let's try and recap it quickly. So I saw Dan Sales in trouble. Here is this with Turcotte. That might be a little more on the passing car.
Hard to say. He just kind of goes around there. I think that was Mitch going around.
We got real tight for these guys towards the back. Guadagnoli, White, Stevenson, they just kind of blended right in. Let's see, can we get another look at this? I want to go high above if we can, but the blimp gets blocked by so many trees. Dive there. I mean, the trouble,
I mean, he's
I guess,
well alongside.
The trouble there is Turcotte definitely got very much alongside, but it was just late enough. I think Denardi had already kind of picked his kind of turn-in point. Or Sales, I guess, not Denardi, just Sales. That's a really tough incident to look at. I think, man, I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, you might be able to chalk it up as a racing incident because you're making that move pretty late. But again, I mean, if you're going to leave that door open, if somebody's that close to you, one thing I've learned, and these guys will find this out when you move up to the Pro-Am, if you leave even a little bit of daylight open, someone's coming. And especially on this track, I mean, it's hard to get away from people. I remember last week in the sprint race, I did the entire race and did not do a single full lap on the actual racing line. I was just trying my hardest just to not let people by. So, I mean, they're going to pounce, and especially when you're up there, you know, just scrapping for it near the end of the season. So, yeah. Maybe 50-50. It's difficult to say. You got to be ready for people to send that on you.
Yeah, I think that's one that if I was sitting in race control, I'd probably chalk that up to a we'll review later and kind of take action as necessary, because that is such a nuanced incident to decide on in real time. I don't think it's fair to either driver to make a mid-race decision because it has such ramifications if you penalize either one. That was a really, really... I think the other ones we've seen today have been kind of straightforward, but that was a lot more nuanced. We'll see what the outcome is, if anything, but here we go, pit stop. Aaron's into the pit lane. You saw Crudo go by that lap to kind of try to give him some separation, and now Aaron's will pit. This is a little bit early, but I don't hate the move just to try something different. If you look at the points, you know, Aaron's is not really in it. This is not a bad idea. Just kind of shake things up a little bit.
Yeah, maybe a little data gathering too. Let's see.
Oh yeah, it's kind of see where the tires are at, how much should be pushed or maybe laid back. That's a good point. Should be pretty cut and dry here in a second or two. Yeah, Aaron's down and away, so that tells me this was a plan to stop in some regard. Not sure how old the plan is. Might just be a lap or two old, but let's stop there for Aaron's back on the racetrack. And you know what? As far as kind of working the delta, that puts him now 19th, about 38 seconds behind the leader. So that kind of gives you a bit of information, you know. If Al Crudo were to pit now, where is he going to come out? Is he going to have traffic or not?
Yeah, that's good information to have. I mean, I don't know if the guys are in a Discord or anything talking to each other. I feel like usually with the GT3 stuff, I don't know if that's as common. But yeah, it's good information to have. And now, if you think you've got the pace and you're kind of stuck in traffic, if you can get out in clean air, you're going to make up a lot of time here. So some of those quicker guys, this might be a pretty good play. Just kind of, you know, just play an alternate strategy and try to get where you can actually put in your full pace.
Man, this is unfortunate news for Mason Houseman. Not able to race tonight because he overslept. Not sure how you do that at 8 p.m., 9 p.m., but I'm sure everybody has their schedule, and you know, some guys work night shifts, so who knows. But unfortunately, they don't have Mason here tonight. It's been fun to talk about him all season long, but hey, you get a drop week for a reason, right?
There you go. Well, as far as his season goes, I think he might already have some races he'd like to use as a drop, but
this is fair.
You know, I really hope he comes back because genuinely, I think if you know you've got a season on your belt, you're kind of in the swing of things, and now you know, like at least you're not chasing a championship and you overslept. Like imagine if you were in the top 5 guys and you overslept, you'd be devastated.
That's actually a great point. I want to go back to it was actually Christian Gritzko's got trouble. He is just spun around in the S's. Well, this is going to be a two-parter.
White gets himself another Murtis mega miss. That was close.
Yeah, this is going to be a two-parter. I saw something with Mark Booley at first, and I want to look at this quickly. So he goes off the racetrack, and he comes back on right with Jordan White and Dominic Turcotte. Of course, Booley just kind of muddied up his tires a bunch, so he goes wide. Doesn't have much grip there, and you see Turcotte and White get by, but then Gritzko a little farther up here in the lower S's, he just gets too much curb and grass, and that's a big hit to the barriers.
Yep, that's probably... Oh, no, it looks like he's still rolling, so that's, you know, you got a fast repair for a reason, so... Yeah, this section, you want to attack those curbs, but they can bite you.
He did say earlier today in Discord he's sick, he's under the weather, so this is just kind of a...
He did say
go
that.
and race, see what he can get kind of night. And, man, some mega misses there for Stevenson and Sales, and everybody else getting by, too.
Yeah, like I had pointed out to him, he's still kind of in it for the drawing at least. You know, you got some incentives to stick around and keep driving and pick up whatever points you can. Still a lot of racing left, and with a smaller field, you know, you can gather up some points.
Wayand and White both in the box. Oh no, Jourdain don't take tires. I think he might have unchecked him there, but probably had 1 or 2 swaps still as Gritzko just kind of shoves the car off into the pits. I think he's a little frustrated, but part of it.
I hope he didn't get too... If he actually got... the car gets real weird with... Yeah. I've tried that one time and one time only. And
I feel like at that point, you may as well take all 4.
Yeah.
Well, out front, it's Jose DeLeo, but I do want to circle back to the Mason Houseman point. And so if we go here to just some blimp perspective, let's look at where Houseman is in the standings. Making this graphic earlier today, I had the thought, you know, I did not think after the first couple rounds that Houseman would be top 10 in the standings. I knew he had the ability. Certainly, I knew he could if it all went right from the get-go, but it certainly didn't. So to see him still claw up to the top 10 is pretty impressive, passing guys like DeMarco, Tavella, Turcotte all along the way. And here he is, 9th place, obviously tonight going to take a hit, but he could still easily be top 10 for the season as a whole, and that, I think, is pretty impressive.
Definitely. And I mean, again, like I said, I hope he comes back for the next GT3 season that we have.
Porsche Cup, even.
Because I think, well, yeah, even that. I mean, just something to get just get a little bit more experience. And I think, like, he's shown he has really good pace. just needs things to go a little bit more his way, and I think part of that was just kind of getting used to racing in a new format, new cars, all that kind of thing. I'm sure he's got a lot of that sorted out now, and will be able to make pretty good. I wouldn't be surprised if he comes back and makes a championship run. Honestly, he could definitely go for it.
On board currently with David Stevenson, watching the battle ahead with Justin Cornett and Dan Sales. Of course, Stevenson knows that, well, I mean, he and Cornett are teammates here, so they can try to work together in this little fight. As we're starting to see more and more pit stops around the racetrack, this time it's Guadagnoli, or rather Booley and Denardi. Guadagnoli hasn't yet pitted, but we're starting to see more and more pit stops. The highest of the drivers that has pitted so far is Armando Aarons. He is in 13th, about 41 seconds back of Jose De Leo, so he has continued to lose a bit of time to the race leader. It was about 38 earlier. As you're watching the battle for about 9th, 10th, and 11th, with Turcotte not too far back for 12th.
Yeah, he kind of, his teammate, like you said, backed him up a little bit into him, I think, and that's going to help. Anywhere you can kind of slow him down, though, you got to be careful, because you saw Stevenson was getting he was getting a little bit impatient there. As here he goes. He's going to try one down the inside here, maybe.
Oh! Justin Cornett. Oh, man. That is a big, big hit out to the tire barriers. He's going to try to get the car back on the racetrack here. It's rare you have a car down in that area of the racetrack, and he's just going to tow.
Yeah, it's a shame. Looked like he just got kind of a big snap through there. And it's really hard to catch up, or I mean, sorry, check up when someone gets a little squirrely out there.
We're roller coaster, and here comes Sales up the inside. Cornett loose on his own, and then gets hit, and big, big hit to the barrier there. That's a lot of damage. Oh, that right rear is junk.
Oh yeah.
I'm actually glad
I'm
we
sure
got
he wanted
that
to drive it back.
Let's see if we can get another look at it here. We haven't seen many actual crashes tonight.
Yeah. Some spins, some people making contact, getting loose, but usually everyone's been, well, up until now, everybody's been kind of getting away with it, and just losing nothing more than some positions. But there you go.
This could be what sets Jose De Leo away from the rest this season. Almiron is not too far back, but is 2 spots back. So they're kind of trading blows. I think De Leo kind of getting the leg up currently as, here we go, into the pit lane for most of these drivers. I even had the thought to myself earlier, you know, this is not really a fuel saving ground for these guys. Because of the points gaps, they just need to go straight up wheel-to-wheel battle and get all they can get. Forget the fuel right now. Try to make that difference up on the racetrack. Make sure you're ahead. If you can get to a good position, yeah, then save some fuel. But really, for these guys, I think it's a different game than it has been all season long.
Yeah, a little bit. And we see there's De Leo away. And, yep, Jenkins finally gets away later. That's a pretty big pit stop. It's, you know, it's very important that De Leo nailed that. He was about 2.5 seconds, and we see that gap came down. We'll see where this settles. But it looks like he lost about a second in that stop.
Oh, Wayand and Almiron, they are on top of each other here now, out of the pit lane. Of course, Wayand pitted 4 laps ago. Almiron, this is his 2nd lap back on the racetrack. They are battling very heavily for 5th. As it looks like with Mark Booley hitting the pit lane this lap, that should be everybody. Except for maybe Mitch Buenaventura. It seems he was handed a penalty. Possibly. Possibly. I guess you're in the sim, you can tell me.
Actually, no, I don't see... No, the only thing I see was for Denardi, but I believe that was the sprint race. So... And what, we're already down to 13.5 minutes. This has just flown by so fast. It's just been action-packed, just non-stop. And look at Jenkins. He's closed that gap. So now I'm wondering if he was doing a pretty good amount of fuel saving with how much he made up in the stop, and now maybe he's like, all right, time to pin it. Let's see what we got. Or is DeLeo trying to save? You wouldn't really need to worry about saving tires at this point. They're going to fall off a little bit at the end of the stint. But these guys have been driving pretty smooth, so I don't think that would be an issue, really. You can kind of make up for that a little bit. Maybe, make a couple of clicks of adjustment on the brake bias. It's the only thing you can adjust. And that's the main thing that you're worried about anyway, is when the tires start to wear out. The braking zone going into 3. Oh,
this might be for incidents. I also think it may have been for incidents for Buenaventura, and it would make sense. These two each took the 4X when they made contact and spun around. I would guess this is likely a drive-through penalty for Anthony Wayand as he makes the long trip down the pit lane. And yes, drive-through for incidents, straight back out. That will take him out of a great fight with Almiron, as there's a fight here with Stevenson and Turcotte. Stevenson will win that one out. But I was just looking over the leaderboard currently, Chris, and as we get ready to do driver of the day, I was mentioning before the pit stops that DeLeo had a car between he and Almiron, and that was at least a little bit of separation in the points. Now it's a handful of cars, 3 cars between them. Almiron down in 5th versus 3rd. Of course, that is because Alcrudo and Aarons pitted earlier than the rest of these guys. So that slotted them right back into it with Alcrudo ahead of Aarons. And that is just kind of sweetening the deal even more for Jose DeLeo. I think we may see a Corvette championship this season if this kind of thing keeps up.
That would be good to see. It doesn't look like Jenkins has the pace to catch him up. I will say, I love the teamwork that we're seeing from those guys, from Alcrudo and Aarons. I mean, they have been together all evening, so that's kind of fun to see. Everybody else usually spread out. I will admit, I typically have zero idea where my teammate is until one of us has a disaster. But so I love seeing that. Here we go. DeLeo makes up his positions. He did start P7, P2 in the sprint race. So this is a huge just heap of points for him. Almiron's going to need some help next week, I think.
Well, let's go ahead and make our selections then for driver of the day. And I typically do kind of put you on first. Who you got?
Well, it's hard to look past DeLeo, as easy as that is to do. I mean, he avoided the incident. He got himself P2 in the sprint race, worked his way back through the field, got a little bit of help from some hard racing in front, but he had already caught that pack and had made his presence known. So it's very possible that he would have made that up in the pit stops anyway. If he, can just keep things together here, he's definitely on for a win tonight. I don't want to jinx him. Let me knock on some wood here for him. But as far as my second pick, I like seeing Jenkins up there. Dean Kerr's having a pretty strong day. Pierre Thompson is an interesting one. I might give him a quick mention just for learning the track, but I'm not sure if I want to give him a full-on pick. Oh, man, the second one's hard. Why? Let's go. You know what? I will. I'll switch it up. I think Pierre Thompson, for saying he didn't like the track, he was really struggling in qualifying, and looking at his times, he's kind of learning on the job, as they say, and doing a pretty good job of it. So let me see if I can find his lap times here. So I'm happy with that, yeah. So I'm happy with DeLeo and Thompson. I think they're both having strong days, one better than the other. But if you don't like the track and you don't know it, hey, man, P8, not bad.
And on that note, I think Devin Jenkins is an easy shoo-in for driver of the day. The car just got a buff back to being a little more competitive with these other manufacturers, and he's definitely showing these guys what for with it. Second place here in the feature. He started 4th. That means he finished 5th in the sprint. That's pretty solid too. Top 5 and top 3. That's a pretty good day, honestly. So Devin Jenkins, we haven't seen too many great runs out of him since earlier in the season. So this is kind of riding the ship a little bit. You know, he's slowly sunk down the standings, down to 8th coming into tonight's race. So I think that's a pretty solid correction for him. And I'm torn. There are some great options, but you know what? I think in the scope of the championship fight, as much as I want to say Alcrudo and Almiron are having good days, and of course Almiron won the sprint, Alcrudo's kind of splitting the middle, third in the sprint, third here in the feature. I just don't think in a championship sense either one is really wowing me. You know, you know what the game is. It's you guys versus DeLeo, and you know, toss in maybe a weigh-in, possibly, and of course Pierre Thompson. I don't think for the championship they're really wowing me right now. I think my eye actually drops down to Dean Kerr in 7th. He's up a handful of spots here in the feature, so he's kind of gone through the sprint and the feature, just clawing up into it. And he could get Bejaran here for 6th before the end of this race. I'm going to go ahead and take Dean Kerr. I think this is a pretty solid run out of him.
I like that. Yeah, I mean, and he had a pretty strong, if I remember correctly, the last race that they did had a pretty strong result there. Kind of back to his. Yeah, I think so. Yeah, but I mean, because he's like we had mentioned then, we know he can be fast. He's had strong results, but there's another one of those regulars that has just had a rough time of it this season. But this is what you want to do. You want to put something good together, finish the season strong, so that you kind of have that momentum going into the next season, or going into, if you're going to go into Porsche Cup, which I know a lot of these guys are. So
I also will say, as kind of an added bonus, I do really like purple race cars.
Yeah, it's a nice looking car. The purple on black, and I mean that Mercedes sound, that's the classic. I think that was the first car I remember. You could hear it coming up behind you, just that angry, deep growl from that giant engine. So,
yeah, one thing we've not looked at yet tonight is actually the car spec graphic. Let's take a quick look at that for GT3. For the Mercedes, it's a V6 actually.
Oh, is that right?
No, that's definitely meant to.
Not right.
Oh no, V8. I'm sorry. I need to read my own graphic. Yeah, V8.
Oh yeah, there it is. Yep.
As we have a battle with them. Actually,
that don't sound like a V6.
Yeah, no, I was like, that does not match my memory. I know it to be a V8, but I was looking at the V6 line and not realizing I had V6 and V8 together. Regardless, there you saw the move briefly from Kerr on the left side of Bejaran that did not pan out. So, back to it then. There you see, V8 for the Mercedes, and I believe it's, I think I have it noted somewhere, but I believe it's on the higher end of the 500 to 600 horsepower. I'd have to double check my notes, but it certainly puts out a solid bit of power to those rear wheels and makes a great sound while doing it. And you see on the lower end of raw horsepower is the Lamborghini, and I guess in tandem would be the Audi as they run the same power plant.
Yeah, and this is, I mean, I like looking at this graphic because this is always one of those things. I'm okay at driving the car, but I am mechanically illiterate.
And of course, I think the important part here is, yes, they have all their differences, but FIA, SRO, they all homologate them, right? And the class from its inception in 2005 has been homologated road-going cars. So it's road-based models that then get upgraded to go racing. I don't know specifically like the percentage of what goes on the road is also in the car in GT3. I can't imagine it's much. It's certainly based on the road-going variants here at this stage. I think maybe back in the mid 2000 aughts, I'm sure it was probably a little more road-going based at that time, but certainly now it's getting a little more purpose-built to go racing. Regardless, they're built to match their road-going counterparts as well as they can, while also being proper race cars. But they're all homologated to effectively and ideally perform around the same. And one of the ways they achieve that is, I think, something you see a lot in iRacing BOP, is actually fuel consumption. So if a car is going faster, they're going to worsen the fuel consumption to, or I guess, well, I guess in this case it wouldn't be fuel consumption that they're making worse. They're not allowing as much fuel in the tank, right? So you can't go as far. So in the scope of a 24-hour race, ideally you're pitting more, so that your race pace effectively is slower, so that the difference can be made between the drivers and teams and stuff like that versus the car doing all of the talking. So yes, you want to still have your advantages engineered into the race car, and this is maybe going too far down the tangent, but ideally FIA, SRO, IMSA, they all kind of homologate the cars to be ideally about the same.
I think they do a pretty good job too. I mean, we can see that's one thing that makes the AM races so much fun is we get people picking different cars because it's more about who can learn the most, who can develop their skills and the fundamentals that they need to actually find that pace, who can learn to be consistent because it's not all about raw pace. I mean, you got to be able to do that lap after lap and hit your marks every single time. Driving to the delta that you want, and that's the cars are so close that like the AIMs don't need to worry about it. That you can just pick the car you like if you think it looks cool, if you think it feels better driving it. If it's just your favorite car growing up or something, it really opens up the choices for drivers who are still learning, especially.
Couple of minutes to go, couple of laps to go, as we're expecting 23 in this race, and that's what we'll get, much like the pro race a week ago. Next up for NARL, it is out to Road America for the pros next week, but that will only be round 7 of their season, not the finale as originally planned. Their Watkins Glen race was postponed to late May, in line with the, I guess because it was originally in line with the iRacing 12 Hours of Sebring, so that has been changed a bit, as Dan Sales has trouble down here in the lower S's. We'll spare him the replay, but he has gone around and had a bit of a moment. He's down to 13th, with Jordan White trying to catch up behind. Jordan and Bonaventura might have a bit of a fight here this last lap, but here we go. Final time around in just a moment for Jose DeLeo as he rounds Roller Coaster for the penultimate time. Again, in the scope of the championship, Chris, I think he has risen to the occasion. Second and first is what he is working on putting on the board here tonight. And I don't know exactly how the points will look after tonight, obviously, but I think they're going to favor the 78 car a good bit.
For sure. I kind of, I've mentioned this before as we get the white flag. He's had some bad moments in the season where stuff hasn't gone his way, and it's put him in the back of the field or in the middle of it, and he just ends up P2 or P3 even on his worst days. So I mean, that's championship driving. That's exactly what that is, and he's definitely earning it.
Watching the field fly by the flag stand here at VIR. There goes Wayand. He is buried down in 12th spot, but there is your race leader once again, Jose DeLeo. At this point, we're kind of just going through this final lap for formality's sake. There aren't many battles on the racetrack currently. It's like night and day from the beginning of the race to the ending here. The pit stop really split these guys up. Everybody is separated now by, a second or more for the most part. Really, the only battle left is this little gaggle.
Yep.
I don't even want to call it a gaggle. This little pairing of Armando Bejeron and Dean Kerr. This is the only fight within the top 10. The next is Jordan White and Mitch Bonaventura, and then Jeff Denardi and Bob Guadagnoli. So it's not to say that the racing is not impressive right now, because it certainly has been all night long, but this is the quieter stage, and that's typically how this goes, I think, at VIR. We always appreciate the races here. They're always exciting, but it seems like half of the race is a little quieter, half of the race is a little crazier. You never know which it's going to be with the pit stop, but here we go. Down the hill for the final time, and Jose DeLeo will grab himself a series lead tying third win. That will match Emiliano Almiron, who got his third win in the sprint race earlier tonight. DeLeo to the checkered flag with the win here at VIR.
Saw Jenkins flashing the lights behind. He also had a really good day. Very strong showing for the Ferrari today. not quite fast enough to, Dean Kerr not quite fast enough to close the gap and challenge for P6. So we see him come around. And we see Thompson and DeMarco, Stevenson, everybody making their way through.
This is a really cool perspective because they kind of make this left turn around the start-finish line. It's kind of a weird front stretch. You don't see this very often. Typically, it goes the other way on a NASCAR oval with a tri-oval or quad oval, but yeah, no, it bends around the pit lane like this, and so you get this really cool perspective of the cars coming at you. But a few cars left to go, those being Denardi, Guadagnoli, Booley, and Gritsko. The one DNF today will be Justin Cornett out of that Maradness M squad. So as we await the final few cars, about 30 seconds back of the others, here comes Denardi around the flag stand in just a moment. And we'll be able to kind of consider this race finalized. There's Denardi, there's Guadagnoli. Here comes Booley, teammate to Guadagnoli, and then finally Gritsko. Another 12 seconds back. It's been a rough season for him.
Yeah, hopefully next season he gets a little bit more luck. It'll be nice to see him turn things around. Still got one more. There you go. Burn it down. Why not?
Style points.
You made it to the end. Yeah, there you go. Still got one more race to hopefully build some momentum for next season.
I can tell he's watched a few of these broadcasts to know that we kind of watched the final car come across the line, and he wanted to make it special. But let's go back and see your unofficial race results here this evening from Virginia International Raceway. Of course, Jose DeLeo on top, and obviously a great day for him. That's going to put a bunch of points in the bag for driver number 78. I think the highlights here, we'll go through the whole top 10, but the highlights certainly are the 78, the 544, the 22, and the 18. Pierre Thompson, I'm not saying he's out of it, because this could be the drop, and maybe he's still in it. But this is a big blow to his championship hopes, as it is for Anthony Wayand, which sucks, because he had such a great opportunity with the invert putting him on pole for this race. What could have been, right, for each of those guys. I'm not saying they're out of it, Chris, but it's a much taller hill to climb now, and even for Alcrudo and Almiron, this is definitely a blow. This is putting them on their back foot a little bit, and they've got to find a way to respond at Road America in a couple of weeks. But in between all of those highlights, Devin Jenkins goes second, Miguel Alcrudo third, Armando Aarons fourth, and Emiliano Almiron will complete your top five as Jose DeLeo wins today. Armando Bejar sixth, Dean Kerr, Pierre Thompson, Alex DeMarco, and David Stevenson, the remainder of your top 10.
So then we have the second half of the field. Of course, we have Dominic Turcotte, Anthony Wayand in P12. Dan Sales brings it home 13th. Jourdain White, still, despite a very rough day, still brings it home P14. It's not bad. Mitch Buenaventura also. Pretty much everybody back here. It's just kind of the bad luck gang, you could say. So 15th for Mitch, 16th for Jeff Denari, 17th for Bob Guadagnoli, 18th for Mark Booley, 19th, Christian Gritsko, and our one DNF, as we pointed out earlier, Justin Cornett.
And already drivers starting to share
everybody else on the lead lap.
Yeah, look at that. Everybody on the same lap there. That's always good. I mean, obviously a little bit of a smaller car count this evening, but it gave us some time, I think, to really focus a little bit more. Not do as much catch up as far as incidents and stuff, but just kind of relish the fact that we have some great fighting. And yes, that was a pun in there. Bonus points if you found it. But Jose DeLeo will be the driver we speak to in a moment first. Evan Jenkins has connected. We'll give Jose a moment here and remind you that you can vote for your favorite driver in the North American Racing League Driver of the Day vote that is held over on YouTube. So if you're watching on a different platform, believe me, I know you've got a smart device somewhere nearby. And if you don't, welcome to 2026. I know you can find a computer, a tablet, a cell phone, something to pop into the YouTube chat and make a vote. So even if you're watching on an Xbox or a TV that maybe you can't navigate to the chat as easily, and I know you can find it on some kind of device. Jose DeLeo, Pierre Thompson, Devin Jenkins, and Dean Kerr. Those are your options for today's Driver of the Day. Those are your nominations, and I think that's a pretty solid little group. We're getting some more votes in now. So yeah, get those votes in. We're a little sparse in the votes so far. I know there's a bunch of you guys watching. We appreciate that, but these drivers will also appreciate the Driver of the Day vote. So as we await our race winner, Not seeing Jose yet, so we'll go ahead and go down. And Chris, I'll bring you Devin Jenkins while we wait.
All right, yeah, we get Devin Jenkins in here. It's nice to have a Ferrari up front again. I'm always a fan of seeing the old girl out there. So, Devin, I mean, that was kind of a pretty action-packed race. That was really fun to watch. How did you kind of keep yourself out of the chaos as much as there was? And did you think you could actually challenge for that lead position?
The brake pedal kept me out of the chaos. I got a couple taps in the rear there, but again, Jose with his consistency is really good with his consistency. I had too many little mistakes. I stayed close. I think I kept him honest, but too many little mistakes for sure.
Yeah, we could definitely see you kind of building the pressure. It looked like you had a really strong pit stop too. It looked like you had made up just over a second just from your stop. Was that kind of part of the strategy, or is that just kind of how it worked out?
I'm far too new at this to strategize. I'll have to put a Chat GPT logo on the car because that's what helped me out with that.
Hey, man, there's no shame in that. You wouldn't be the first one to believe that. So, hey, man, it was great to see you up there. I mean, again, like I said, action-packed race. I love seeing you up there again. Hopefully, you can continue that on to the next race, or the finale, actually. So how are you feeling about Road America coming up?
I'm not too bad at Road America. It's definitely not my strongest track. I think I can get into the 153s, but again, that's just hitting it and being consistent's a problem there. But I feel all right. I think we'll be able to have a good race. Today was a great race, lots of action, both races actually. So it was great. Thank you guys for great broadcasts, and this is fantastic.
Well, thank you for putting on a good show, and it's good to talk to you as always. And hopefully we're talking to you next week. You got plenty of time to get the practice in, so good luck with it.
Right on. Thanks, fellas. Put the Ferrari on the podium again.
Yes, sir.
There's Devin Jenkins with a bunch of votes for driver of the day, and he's currently leading that vote at the moment, Chris, but still a little bit of time for these guys to make their decisions. Definitely a little bit of time to make your vote. We're still waiting on any other top 3 drivers from this evening. So I guess if you're listening, if you finished this race tonight and just want to talk to us, hey, we might be able to talk to you here in a minute before the night is over. But Chris, to go back and I guess look at this series as a whole, go back to the schedule, right, and just look at this whole thing. I don't know that we ever had a clear picture as to who the championship favorite might be until maybe kind of Mexico or Watkins Glen. We got an inkling of a couple of guys. And now I think it's clear that it's likely going to be Jose's kind of championship to lose next week, but not by a whole lot. I think it's still going to be very, very close. I think it's going to be a heads-up fight, and Jose will have a lot of pressure on him to execute at every step of the way. We'll see. Road America, final round in a couple of weeks. It's going to be exciting.
Yeah, it's going to be very crucial. It'll be interesting to see how DeLeo does there so far. I mean, we obviously don't know yet who's got what pace there. So we'll find that out as practice. I like to do a little spying on the practice sessions. Just saying. It's one of those things where he's in position to control his own destiny. He's done everything right to get himself there. So just don't let the pressure get to you. Just keep your head down. You just got to get through one more session, 2 more races total, 60 minutes, and that championship spot is yours.
And of course, on the pro side, here's a look at their schedule. It's just about the same, but you see Watkins Glen slotted down at the end with that schedule change in March. So it really is a tale of 2 seasons almost, 2 half seasons, right? I mean, it feels like you guys had some rapid fire races there at the beginning of the year and then all that time off, and it has definitely changed things. We've got a couple of extra drivers now that had other commitments earlier in the year, and it's going to be exciting to see how that pans out as well the last couple of rounds. But I'm kind of dancing around the idea that maybe we won't have any other drivers to talk to here this evening. Nobody's connecting, so just open call. If you race tonight and you're not in the Discord yet, and we haven't spoken to you yet, so if you're not Devin Jenkins, go ahead and come up and talk to us. If you get here in the next 30, 60 seconds, we'll give you the light of day. But we're getting down to the end of it, and I'm going to go ahead and actually end the poll on YouTube for the driver of the day, because we're already on the guy who's going to win it. Devin Jenkins going to be today's driver of the day then, Chris, and I think that's fitting. I know he's got the fan club out there, but I think that's a pretty good vote.
Definitely. I'm cool with that. You know, it's like we said, he had one heck of a day, so didn't. I mean, he said he made some little mistakes, and yeah, there were some small ones in there, but I mean, it was just a chaotic, action-packed race. So there's mistakes will be made, and the key thing is he kept himself out of the wall, kept himself out of other cars, and kept it pointed in the right direction. And yeah, maybe the pace wasn't fully there to catch DeLeo, and you know, DeLeo kind of got a little bit of a lucky break with the wreck in front of him. Didn't have to actually work through, which kind of helped his situation. But even then, I mean, yeah, well deserved. Congratulations, Devin.
I am surprised it's saying 77 laps could be run here. That's kind of crazy. I think that's maybe a graphic we won't use then on these timed races, because it seems to not like the timed aspect. But hey, a great race tonight here at VIR. It always is at this racetrack, and it's always fun to come here with any kind of car, but especially these NARL GT3 pros and AMs. A big thank you again to our partners with the series, Moradness, JS Consulting, Screw Compressor Service. I, for some reason, still cannot say that one right in announcing. I don't understand it, but yeah, Screw Compressor Service, Incorporated, Rocket Designs, everybody who does so much for this series. It's always so appreciated. And of course, our partners here at the channel, Whiplash SimCams, MX Wraps, ATVO, Murder C Sports, CC's Business, North American Racing League, Whiplash Creative, and TZO Designs. Since we have a moment, again, I want to urge you to watch this Sunday's race. Well, every race we have on Pit Stop TV, but especially this Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, as we get some fantasy rounds coming up. What that is just an extra game that you can play as you watch along. If you're not in the series, you can still play and compete alongside the series and pick your favorite drivers, or even just pick who you think is going to win each week in each of these series on Pit Stop TV. It's all held in the Pit Stop TV Discord, but there you see the next handful of broadcasts against Steering Wheel Nation Truck Series tomorrow night at Las Vegas Motor Speedway, and then Watkins Glen with NASCAR Cup Cars on Sunday. Chris, how do you feel?
Well, I mean, I'm excited for the trucks. I haven't really gotten any practice yet at Vegas. I've been doing some intermediate running in it, but I was going to practice yesterday and ended up having to go get some stitches in my finger because I'm an idiot. So, yeah, Sunday, oh my God, that's going to be fun. I'm really looking forward to the Cup Cars. No pressure there, because, you know, with the Fantasy League, I think some guys might think I'm going to be SVG, and I assure you I am not SVG, so we'll see. No pressure.
Well, let me tell you, when you're in Group 3, nothing against the other guys in Group 3, but on a road course, so if you don't know, the way this game is structured, if you don't play it yet, here's kind of a quick rundown. I guess we can work on maybe a graphic specifically to explain this in the future, Chris, but basically, right, the way it works is the standings, the driver's standings are broken down into 3 groups, and typically it's kind of small groups at the top. So what we've been doing for these leagues is kind of top 8. Top 8 is Group 1. The next 8 is Group 2. So already your top 16 guys are taken up in the first 2 groups. So 17th on down is just wide open. So Chris, you're a road guy jumping into the series, sure, stock cars, but it's on a road course this week, and a lot of those guys, no offense to them, I don't think they know road courses like you do. So frankly, even if you've got to learn the car, man, I think you've got a leg up on these guys this week. I'm excited to see how you do in your first race with that series. But that's kind of a crash course on kind of how to pick within the fantasy games we do each week with those leagues. Again, they get broken down into different points groups. Basically, that way you're kind of picking somebody from each like area of the grid, if that makes sense. So you have something to watch for throughout the entire race, and I think that makes it a lot of fun. It really gives you, as a viewer, I think, an extra perspective, an extra reason to watch, and an extra skin in the game.
Yeah, it makes it like, I mean, I can't tell. I've been I don't know. I've been spending an awful lot of time. I don't know if my girlfriend's getting tired of it yet, but every night we've been. It's like, well, let me just check this track out. Let me see who was good here last time, and let's watch this race. So we've been watching just different broadcasts every night so far, trying to do some research, and then the live ones come around, and there you go. We get to make our picks, and you're really emotionally invested. Then it amps up the drama quite a bit.
And you see some of our standings graphics from around the series that we've been covering. So this one's for BRB, the one before it was Nora, and the one prior to that was ARN. So it kind of gives you a perspective of how that all looks. But that's going to do it for us. Nobody else wanted to talk to us, Chris. That's okay. Save my voice for later. And you know what? I'm about to go watch Grey's Anatomy. The series finale broken into 2 parts. Yeah. It's part 1 tonight, part 2 next week. It's the season 22 finale. So, all right, that's fine. We'll move on down the line. Hey, thanks for watching tonight. It's been a pleasure as always. It always is fun to broadcast NARL. I know this is a partnership that's now working into our 5th year anniversary coming up. So Scott, thanks for having us around for so long. It is always a pleasure. I love this league, and I love everything that it's become and is continuing to become down the road. So thanks for being here tonight, Chris, and thanks everybody for watching along. This has been a pleasure as always, but I think that's going to do it. I think we've hit every kind of bullet point there is for the evening. So again, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you all next time here at Pit Stop TV, hopefully tomorrow night. Tomorrow night, I'm telling you, Steering Wheel Nation Truck Series, Las Vegas. Chris will be in the race with a hurt hand. Gonna be a lot of fun. I'm excited for that. But make sure you tune into that and everything else we have upcoming here at Pit Stop TV. We'll see you all in the next one.